Welcome to another edition of the Hawk Off the Press podcast. I'm your host, Gazette Hawkeyes reporter John Steppe. I'm excited to welcome back Rick Heller, head coach of the NCAA regional appearing Iowa baseball team. Rick, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, John, for having me.
So a special season, 44-16 appearances in the Big Ten championship game, in a regional final, first 40-win team since 2015. I can go on here. What was it about this year's group that was special?
Well, there were a lot of things. It starts with, talented players, and we had a lot of good players on this team, but it was much more than that. This group had made a commitment to do everything in their power to get back to a regional tournament. They had high goals from day one when we had our first meeting in August when the kids came back to school, and this group just brought it every single day. I mean, they showed up and they did the work. They took care of their business off the field, and they really came together early, and that's always a good sign. Doing it as long as I have. Some teams take longer to mesh, and this group, in mid-September was really coming together already, and the leadership that we had with the seniors and the captains was tremendous, and that's something that we take a lot of pride in, and we spend a lot of time and put a lot into making sure that the culture of our program is what it needs to be to overachieve and put yourself in a place to win a championship. And the group that we had did an outstanding job. And the thing that I haven't heard many people talk about, and to me makes this year even more special, is that we lost our pitching coach in November, and then we also lost David Pearson, another one of our assistants, in November. And anytime that you lose a really high quality assistant coach, it's tough. It's tough on the players. It's tough on the transition. And Sean McGrath came in, and Mitch Bowe came in in late November, and was able to overcome that. You see a lot of programs, you see them lose the pitching coach, and they're 10 games below 500 for 2 years until they figure things out. And we've had to, in our program, we've had to experience that several times, but to have, one of the best years in school history after that happened is really quite amazing if you really want to know the truth, and how it just is a testament to the players that we have in the program, and the pitchers on our pitching staff, and how they handled that transition. And then also to Sean and Mitch for the ability to adapt and get things figured out quickly. And the job that they did was just tremendous. And then and then the other thing with this team, I mean, we were in such a good place, and then we lost 5 of our players, and including Keaton Anthony, who's one of the best hitters in the entire country, and arguably the best hitter in the Big Ten. It'd be similar to, if Caitlin Clark hadn't played the last 10 games of the season, or Spencer Lee. I mean, that's the type of player Keaton Anthony was in the baseball realm, and we didn't have those guys for the last 17 games, and Jacob Henderson was one of our best bullpen arms, and for that happening, and how the team adapted and stepped up and found ways to finish the season off and get to the championship game in the Big Ten tournament, and win 2 games in the regionals, and come so close to winning that regional. It's just amazing what they were able to overcome this season, and it just tells you, had things gone perfectly, I think maybe we would still be playing, but you can't worry about that now. But all you can do is be proud of, be proud of how much this group did accomplish and all that they did overcome. And just I hope that Hawkeye Nation is super proud of these guys, because it was a super special group.
You were mentioning losing Keaton and losing a bunch of other players. That could derail some teams' seasons. Instead, before NCAA play, if I was doing my math right, you went 10-3. What was the key to not letting those major losses define this team and define this season?
It goes back to what we were talking about earlier, and just the culture in our program is, we take care of what we can take care of, and we control what we can control, and the next man up has to get the job done, and they're prepared and ready to do that. And in this case, it was Braden Frazier who stepped in and had been in the lineup for some of the season, out of the lineup for a lot of the season, and when he stepped in, I mean, he picked up the slack. He was our leading hitter during those last 17 games, and just his preparation and his unselfishness and the work that he was able to put in when he wasn't playing to be ready in case that happened is really the biggest reason we were able to do that. And just having a group of guys that believe that it doesn't matter who's in the lineup, somebody, that person is talented, that person is able to get the job done, and just a belief that it's about the team and not the individual.
And then you were mentioning with new pitching coach coming in, with Sean coming in, starting pitching really seemed to be a strength of this team. How much or how valuable was that going down the stretch where you had a lot of guys who you could really rely on?
Well, it was an interesting year on the pitching side because early on it was not smooth sailing, so to speak. I mean, it was a work in progress, and we had to find a bunch of different ways to mix and match and throw guys in really rough situations early in games, and essentially give Brody Breck and Marcus Morgan some time to develop, and give them a leash where they were able to work through things and fail and still go back out the next week and get into a good routine. And that meant that other guys had to step in to roles that are a little uncharacteristic, where you're going to the bullpen in the first inning at times or third inning, and not easy to win games when that happens, but also a testament to this team and the job that Sean did and the pitching staff that we had and the depth that we had. But because we were able to do that and survive it, not only survive it, but get off to the best start in school history, our was able to do a lot of picking up of the pitchers early and scored a bunch of runs and found ways to come back and win games while we were sorting out how the rotation was going to go. And Ty Langenberg, the one returning starter, got off to a slow start as well, and it was just a steady growth and a work in progress where those guys just got better and better as the season went on. And then really, when we flipped the rotation, I think it was maybe the Ohio State weekend where we bumped Marcus Morgan back up to the Friday guy, and moved Brody back to the Sunday guy, and then we moved Ty into the Saturday role. That we started to get more consistent starts out of those guys, and then we ended up having to flip it again where we moved Brody to Saturday and Ty back to Sunday, and so it was a juggling act the entire season, but it really paid dividends down the stretch.
And then going back to last weekend in Terre Haute, you're in that second game, the 1-0 game. You've got that lead in the eighth inning. Then you give up the 5 spot there. If you win that game, you just have to win one of the next 2 games. Instead, if I'm doing my math right, you had to play 31 innings in less than 30 hours. Yeah. What went wrong in that 8th inning? And did you see that as kind of the turning point of the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, that's you wish you had the 8th inning back in game 2 for sure. It just didn't go well. I mean, the bullpen didn't get the job done, and they had been on such a good roll heading into the regional, and even in game one against North Carolina, we had the 4-run lead and squandered it and barely hung on with Luke Llewellyn striking out a guy, to get the third out with the tying and go ahead runs on base at second and third, and then really the same thing happened in the eighth inning of game two. We had the 2-run lead, and the bullpen just didn't get the job done. And Jared Simpson had pitched against Indiana State the first time we played them, and his matchups were excellent, and he pitched outstanding and dominated them when he saw them the last time. And there was some self-inflicted wounds there, but there was also some bad luck in that inning that really hurt us. And we had the high chopper where we couldn't get the out on a forced play at second that Michael tried to get the out at first, and the guy beat it out. And then boom, you got a bleeder to left field that was tailing away, and Michael dives and tips off the end of his glove. I mean, you get either of those outs and you hold on through the eighth, and then you go into the ninth. But ifs and buts, and it's baseball, and it was, I think, more of Indiana State just being on a super hot roll. They had done the same thing to Wright State the day before. They had some lucky hits and some balls that fell for them, and some things that happened right. And unfortunately, in the eighth inning, nothing went right for us, and it snowballed, and we ended up losing that game. But it's you have to put stuff behind you and move forward, which the team did. I mean, but that was a painful loss, because I think all of us believe that had we found a way to hold on to that game, we would be the ones playing this weekend, and that's painful. It's certainly gonna haunt me for a good while, and you wish you had it back, but nonetheless, our guys fought back. The next day, and we beat North Carolina in 13 innings, and went out and fought hard against Indiana State in the first elimination game with them. And our bullpen again was not very good at all in that game, and just we couldn't outscore them, and that was the end of our season.
How difficult is it to manage arms when you're not used to having that 31 innings in less than 30-hour stretch kind of thing?
Well, I mean, it's pretty grueling. I mean, especially with the heat that we had down there. It was 95 pretty much every day, 140 on the turf, and it was a grind. But what do you do? I mean, it is what it is, and you had to go out and try to find a way to survive. And our guys did that and more. I mean, they fought really hard, and I really thought that we the way the game started against Indiana State when we were eliminated, that we were going to find a way to outscore them, and that was kind of the rally cry as we went into that game. Whatever happens with the pitching and on the mound, that we were going to get it done somehow, some way, and we just fell short.
And then how much, kind of moving forward, how much does this experience, these guys getting this chance in Terre Haute to play in NCAA games, how much does that pay dividends moving forward in future years, do you think?
Well, I think it's big, especially going into next year with the guys we have back. I mean, we have a good chunk of that roster back. Now, there's some big losses, obviously. Two of the top hitters in the country are going to be gone off of that team, with Brennan Derigi and Keaton Anthony. And then, you're going to lose Will Christopherson and Luke Llewellyn, to the two guys that were our best late inning bullpen guys. And but we feel good about the recruiting class. As far as what we have coming in now, we're searching for a couple guys. We don't need many, but a couple guys to fill holes this summer. And then, you look at potentially having, Raider Tello back, Michael Seegers back, Cade Moss back, Kyle Huckstorf back, Sam Peterson back, a bunch of guys that were there. And then get to the pitching staff. You got Marcus Morgan back. You got Brody Breck back, who will be with us now in the fall and have a chance to really work on some things. And then, a bunch of other role players on the pitching staff that will be stepping up. I mean, Jack Whitlock did a tremendous job out of the bullpen for us the second half of the season, and was just a big reason why we were still playing, and got to the Big Ten championship game. And also, his role in the regionals was huge as well. And Jack will be back. So there's a lot to be optimistic if we can fill a couple holes that we need to fill this summer. And the makeup of that group coming back is really strong. And so we're excited. I mean, still stinging a little bit, from the regional, and wishing things had gone differently with having our guys that we needed out there that weren't. And then also, how, like you said, the eighth inning is a haunting inning for us, knowing that was crucial, and putting ourselves in the best spot to get there. But we're already working hard and moving towards next season, and most of the guys are already getting ready to leave for summer ball if they haven't left already. And I think that experience of being in the regional is a big motivation for this group. And then throw in the fact that as great as this season was, it was a season of near misses. I mean, we barely missed winning the Big Ten regular season championship. We get to the championship game and didn't get it done. So we finished second in the Big Ten tournament, and then we finished second in the regional. So this team didn't get a chance to dogpile in any of the three opportunities that they had. And I know that's going to be a motivating factor next season, because what this team did, it takes so much in college baseball, especially in the North. You literally have to play every game as a playoff game. And I don't think many people that follow it have any idea the pressure that there is to absolutely try to win every single game, because if you don't, then the way the system is set up, they can use that against you and keep you out of the tournament. And in a big conference like ours, a 13-team conference, that's really kind of an unfair schedule where the computer spits out who you play and you miss 4 teams. You might have the toughest schedule, whereas somebody else that's really good might have the easiest schedule. And there's so many variables that go into it that you just basically have to go out and try everything that you can to win every game. And that's not an easy thing to do. And this team this year did that. But knowing that going into next year is also a big help with the new players coming in, that those guys can lead the way, and that you can't waste a day. I mean, September 15th, whatever it is, I mean, you can't waste that day if you're in our situation, if you want to have a chance to win those championships and get to Omaha.
And then as a coach, when you're coming off a stinging or haunting loss like you had this past weekend, what's your approach for this next weekend? Do you watch the games? Do you keep the TV off? I'm sure you'd like to watch the games, but I don't know how easy that is.
It's not easy. And a lot of people are like, oh, you're going out to watch the World Series. I'm like, no, I'm not going out to watch the World Series unless it would happen to be, one of my close friends or a former assistant coach. I mean, I would do that for them. But no, I don't want to be out there unless we're in the World Series. And but I mean, I do watch occasionally just because I do know so many people and have relationships and friendships with a lot of guys. So it'll depend on who's in, depending on whether I'm watching or not.
And then as you're looking to address those couple needs, what's your approach in terms of the transfer portal?
No, the transfer portal, I mean, it's out there. So, Brennan DeRiggi really, I mean, he was in the portal, but he was a grad transfer, more than a normal transfer. So we were able to pick up a couple guys last year, with Derigi being the big one and the key one. But yeah, we will definitely be looking at all avenues with who we're going to try to bring in, and it's a situation where to be able to step in and fill a role like Brennan did, you almost have to have a guy that has been through 3 or 4 seasons of Division I baseball, because even the best high school kids and the best junior college kids, there is an adjustment period, and an adjustment period for, like, if you're a position player, just with the pitching that you're seeing, every single day, and having the ability to potentially get a guy who's been through those wars and has 400 at-bats in his career, if it's a position player, is definitely helpful and an advantage. But it has to be the right kid, and it has to be the right makeup of that kid. And in our situation, we just don't look at the statistics. I mean, you're trying to find a kid that's going to fit into what we do here and how we go about our business, and the unselfishness and humble and care about your teammates. And that's a big part of our search when we're trying to find guys to come into the program.
And then last but not least, I heard there's a sushi place that you really like near Terre Haute. Did you get any sushi last weekend?
There is, and a lot of the guys on the support staff were able to go, but I actually did not make it. It's just a lot of times when you get to a tournament like that, it's really difficult to get out, because you're prepping so much so quickly for the next game, and I'm generally holed up in my hotel room, either watching the game that's going on, or usually multitasking and doing scouting and scouting reports for the team that we're going to play if they're not on TV. And I didn't get out too much when I was there, other than to the ballpark. And then, as you stated earlier, we were at the ballpark for 12.5 hours on Sunday, and that's a pretty long day. And that's just kind of how it. Same thing with the Big Ten tournament. I mean, I very rarely get out of my hotel room.
Well, Rick, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, John, for having me. I really appreciate the support.
Absolutely. And thanks to our listeners for tuning into another episode. Until next week, we will talk Hawks later.